Hello, welcome to my channel. Danielle here. Is this thing recording? I'm not used to recording videos, can you tell? So this is more of a 2019 reading and weight loss goal. So I did mention a few of my goals in my first two videos, but I just want to talk about them a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to start with my reading, since that's what this channel is mostly going to be about. It's more like reading with books as a reward for losing weight. So without further ado, I'll just get to it. The first thing I want to talk about, oh man, the sun's in my eyes. Ooh, I don't like that. Let's see if we can move this a little bit. No, I don't want you to see my vacuum. That's not cool. Alright, so I lost my train of thought. Okay, so reading. So I've been in college for the last 4 years. Well, more like on and off for the last 6 years, but pretty heavily for at least 3. And I had a lot of reading to do for school because I was an English major, and then I took some other classes that required a lot of reading. I didn't really have a lot of time to read for pleasure, but by the time I was done reading for school, I didn't feel like reading anymore. Some weeks I'd read way too much, so I did enjoy some of the things I read in college, but so I mostly read fantasy though, and that's not usually something you read in college. So I want to catch up. So like the past 4 or 5 years, I haven't read nearly as much as I did when I was early 20s and a teenager, where I used to read like 50 to 60 books a year, probably. So everything that most YouTubers, booktubers, and everyone has read in the last 4 years, I pretty much need to catch up on most things. So a lot of that stuff I talk about on my channel might be a little dated, but I'm making the channel to get me to do it. You know, I think it's fun. I like watching these videos, so we'll see if I like making them as well. But it's kind of like a thing to give me drive, to make me want to continue. I don't know if it'll work, but we'll see. I have a lot of series. I read mostly series. I rarely read standalone novels. And I think I've kind of broken myself to standalone novels because I've read series so long that I feel like if I read a standalone novel, I'm just like, that's it. And I don't get to read about these characters for 4 or 5 more books. Like, this isn't fun. I have to say goodbye to characters so soon. But I am going to try and branch out and read some more standalone this year. But I do have, like, I counted maybe like 100 books between physical books, ebooks, and Audible that I own that I haven't read. So a lot of the books that I read this year will be from my list, which I put a lot of them in here, which is my TBR for like a book jar, like a TBR jar, except I bought these like 2 years ago, these little book boxes, and I didn't really have any use for them other than to sit there and look pretty. So I found a use for one, yay. And that's what I'm going to be picking a few of my books out every month, but there are books I'm just going to want to get to right away, so I'm trying to aim for 10 books a month. I don't think that's unreasonable, considering I listen to a lot of audio while I'm at work and stuff. So a series that I want to catch up on, I tend to read a series and then I get burnt out on like the 3rd book, and I put it away for a while and then I never pick it up again. So I don't know, I'll read 2 or 3 and then I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna read something else for a while, and then I'll never pick it up again. That's what happened with Wheel of Time. So on Wheel of Time, I'm on book 4.5, and I've been there for 10 years, so I might have to reread a lot of Wheel of Time if I ever wanted to continue. Same thing happened with The Sword of Truth by Terry Goodkind, which was one of my all-time favorite series, even though I only read the first 4. I might get into those this year, but I might wait for those because they're so long. I need to read current stuff. But yeah, basically series, and I did mention that I want to branch out and read things besides fantasy and science fiction, so I mostly read fantasy, and that ranges from middle grade all the way to adult, and then there's urban fantasy and young adult, everything. Any type of paranormal or fantasy I'll read. Unless it's like too romancy. I'm not really into super, like, pure romance, yeah. So, I did not mention in my first videos that I'm going to be getting book recommendations from my mom and my dad for the year, for each month, one each month. That will help me branch out a little bit. My mom's probably going to recommend a lot of classics and Stephen King, and then my dad's probably going to recommend a lot of Stephen King. So I'm probably going to finally have to read Stephen King, which I don't know if I even want to do. We'll see. I do want to read more sci-fi because I've read some sci-fi. I read about 5%, 10% sci-fi, but a lot of the time it's more of dystopian sci-fi or futuristic. I want to read like real sci-fi, like space opera type sci-fi. So that's one of my goals. And then maybe some contemporary, but most of the contemporary that I have read was kind of boring, but we'll see. There's a lot of stuff people talk about on BookTube that I'm curious to read about. And then there's I do like some historical fiction, but I don't tend to like a lot that most people like. I just read The Nightingale. That was the first book I finished this year. And I didn't really like that book that much. Like, I think it was well written. It just kind of bored me. I don't know how else to say it. It was boring and sad. It's like, why do I want to be bored and sad? I don't. So, yeah. Okay, that was rambly. Let me get on to the weight loss section of this video. So the weight loss section, the weight loss that I'm going to talk about is brief. I'm 282. I just weighed myself Monday because that's kind of when I started. I was going to start on the 1st, but I had some events that I knew there was going to be some yummy food that I didn't want to like start right away. So I sort of started on the 1st with some things, but mostly I started on Monday, which I was 282. So at the end of each month I'm going to weigh myself, and depending on how much weight I lose, I'm going to reward myself with books. So I'm thinking one book every 5 pounds, depending on how fast I'm going the first few months, because I'm not going to do any book hauls for at least 2 months because I want to get through some of these books that I own now. So reading more books. If I read my 10 books of the month for 2 months, and if no one's here. So if I read my 10 books, if I make that goal, and then one book for every 5 pounds, I'm thinking. So if I lose 10 pounds a month, I'll get 2 books. Like, I don't want a lot of books right now. Until I get this TBR that, like I said, I own like 100 books that I haven't read yet. So I have a lot of books that I can read in the next year already. But there are some books that I'm super excited about that booktubers talk about all the time that I really want to try. Like, some of my favorite booktubers and ones that read a lot of fantasy have hyped up these books so much that I want to go buy them right now, but I'm trying to have some self-control in that area. So I've been struggling with my weight for about 5 or 6 years. I mean, I've always struggled with it up and down, but I've been the biggest I've ever been in the last about 5 years, maybe a little less. I'll lose weight again, and I'll lose weight again, and everyone knows. Everyone who knows me knows I'm like oh, you've lost so much weight, and then a year later I'll be like, what the fuck happened to you? No, they won't say that, but I know they're thinking it. So, whoopsie, seeing my camera shaking again. That's my fault. That's pretty much all I want to talk about. I'm going to do a top 5 of last year before it's already next year. Kind of late on that, but I was going to do a top 10, but I'd only read like 30 books, maybe 25, and a lot of those were for school, so I'm only going to do about a top 5 or top 7. I think I'll do my top books and my worst books in the same video, because I only had 2 books that I really didn't like last year, which I gave like 2 stars. They weren't even 1 star, so I don't think I have any 1-star reviews last year of the books that I read. So that's good. I did find some new authors last year that I'm excited to get into. So, alright, well, this video is about to be 10 minutes, so I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.